me this. Where is the separation between church and state? What does that line actually look like? Well, the Supreme Court issued a ruling today and one last week that gives us a new perspective. First, what happened today? This is Joe Kennedy, a football coach from Washington State. Between 2008 and 2015, he had a practice to pray after the high school football games in public view of players and those in attendance. Eventually, the students started joining him on the 50-yard line to pray. Well, an opposing coach complained to the school district, and Kennedy had to stop for a little bit, but then he brought the practice back. The district offered Kennedy a place to pray out of public view. He refused. Ultimately, the district put Kennedy on leave, fearing his religious practice on a public school 50-yard line in his role as a public school district employee would be considered government speech and would violate the First Amendment's Establishment Clause, which protects the separation between church and state. Kennedy sued, and today the Supreme Court justices ruled 6-3 in his favor. They said he was utilizing the free exercise and free speech clauses in the First Amendment, and the school district was wrong in interpreting it the way they did. Justice Gorsuch wrote the majority opinion and said Kennedy's words should not be construed as government speech because he was not acting in the normal scope of his duties because the game was over. Gorsuch went on to say Kennedy was not providing instruction or game strategy and that he prayed at a time when he was free to do other things like attend briefly to personal matters. Now, in the dissent, the court's 3 liberal justices said Kennedy's prayer could also be seen as coercing young students into participation, even though they may not share his religion. The dissent also points to claims that some of the players felt pressured to join Kennedy's prayers to win favor and more playing time. Obviously, the court's majority saw this differently. Now, the other religious liberty case was also a 6-3 ruling that basically said your public tax dollars can be used for religious school tuition. Important to note, this is only a small program that has a small number of kids involved, but it does have bigger implications. This case is about the state of Maine's tuition program that funds education for the state's youth. Prior to the lawsuit, the state would pay the tuition of students who live in rural areas and have to go to private schools because there's no high school to attend, but only if the private school did not promote faith or a belief system. Again, separation of church and state. Well, the state was sued, and last week the court said the state's program essentially was discriminating against religion. Therefore, public tax dollars in Maine can go to parents who send their kids to a religious school.